this guy improves his arm lock around my neck, I can't get my head up. And I remember I just kind of close my eyes and grip my teeth for impact. My forehead slams against my sternum, gets pressed down there. I can't feel anything in my entire body. Flat on the ground, medical staff is sprinting out to me. I might not even be here today having this conversation. But I forgive him whether he's sorry or not. And I wish him well.
You know, I think right now would be a perfect time to share that this podcast is officially sponsored. And this week's episode is brought to you by Juliana Barbati Consulting. Juliana is an expert in podcast SEO. She's worked with so many different podcasts and helped shows grow, helped shows get more eyes, helped shows get more ears, helped shows, get more followers. And I am honored to be working with her and have her team backing the podcast. So I'm very excited that they are the first advertiser to join the Round 2 podcast, first of many. So thank you, Juliana. And if you are looking for any sort of services to help your podcast grow, feel free to reach out to her. Her contact information is in the show notes. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Round 2 podcast. I am your host, Nikki Corbett, and joining me today is Rob Paylor. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Nikki. I'm pumped for this.
Yeah, me too. It's always interesting how guests come my way, whether it's by me reaching out to them or us randomly connecting. And I think I told you when we first connected that 2 people in the same 24 hours had sent me your name and Instagram handle and said, you got to have this guy on your podcast. He's got a great story. So I'm excited that you're here.
I know. I'm so pumped for it. And thanks to all the Intel connection out there. What a cool way to get connected here. I just can't wait for this conversation.
Me too. Me too. So how are you doing today?
Oh my gosh. Good. It's been such a busy time lately. But I love it. I love it. Like we were saying before this call, like better to be busy than bored.
Absolutely.
So just moving and grooving right now. This is like one of the best times of my life that I'm living right now. I'm so excited.
That is like the best. I love your positive energy. I can like feel it through the screen. Yeah. So I do know a touch about your story, but not the details. So I'm very intrigued to hear your journey and what your life, what kind of, cards you were dealt and what you're doing and how you're doing. So why don't you start wherever you feel comfortable?
Totally. Yeah. And like, feel free to cut me off wherever because, it's quite a journey. And, so for everyone listening, buckle your seatbelts, keep your hands and legs in the ride at all times. But I grew up here in the Sacramento area where I currently live. And I remember growing up, it was just hot summers and sports. I'm a lifelong athlete. That's like, what I was doing on the weekends. And after school, I was just playing sports. I love being outside. And I started playing football when I was 10 years old. I really fell in love with it. I've always been like the biggest guy in my class and I'm 6'5" and, yeah. So I always had like that physical size.
Yeah.
And at first I wasn't any good. Like I got cut and my first year, I didn't even make it to a practice. And I remember there was like this one day where my buddy was starting over me and I knew he wasn't as good as me. And I was just kind of like sick and tired of being sick and tired. And like things really switched in that moment. I was like, I'm going to put my friend on his back every single play throughout this entire practice. And it worked.
Pretty astute of an acknowledgement for a teenager to make, feeling that tired of being tired.
Yeah. I was literally only like 11.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
young in my life. My dad was coaching me at the time and like he just saw like I had a lot of potential gifts. I just wasn't really using them.
Okay.
And then like in this moment, it just kind of like switched. And in the day I became a starter and literally like the other coaches are coming up to my dad, like, is Robert okay? Like, is everything okay at home? How's the relationship with your wife and stuff like that?
Oh, they're like wondering, like, where did this aggression come from? Why is he all of a sudden just mowing people down on the field?
Exactly. But it became like this real turning point for me in my life where I saw if I gave maximum effort to something, there was a payoff. And in that moment, the payoff was immediate, right? I became a starter in one day, but it really got me into athletics and like specifically really saw a future in the contact sports side of things, like with football.
Okay.
So then I heard about the sport of rugby.
Yeah.
I eventually end up playing. And I remember the first time I heard of it, was one of my friend's mom went on a trip to New Zealand because,
Okay.
they love rugby.
Yeah.
It's like their national
Wow.
sport. And she comes back and she tells this crazy story where she said she went to see a match and someone lost their mouth guard, just fell out during the game, but
Sure.
they kept playing and they went like in for a tackle and they bit through their lip, just
Ooh.
teeth out of their lip. And I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah.
I will never play that sport. And lo and behold, a few years after that, I go over to Jesuit High School in Sacramento, which has the most successful rugby program in the nation. I think it's
Does
10
it?
national championships right now. It's amazing.
Wow. I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Incredible record of success, like best by a
Oh.
long shot.
Okay.
So
Wow. Good for them.
amazing. And
Wow.
not only like are they just winning hardware, it's an awesome culture. Like
Mhm.
they have like 100 people on the team and everybody's getting playing time. It's one of those things where it's like, did you even go to Jesuit if you didn't play rugby at some point?
Interesting.
It's really unique.
Okay.
Yeah. Really
It's
cool.
funny because so rugby, one of my friends, her son started playing when he was like in elementary school.
Yeah.
And her daughter, who's a couple of years older than her son, was like, I want to play too.
Yeah.
So she started playing with the boys. And then obviously she got older and it didn't make sense for her to play with boys any longer. But they moved into the like Roseville area and she found there's a team, a girls team that practices down in South Sac. So she's been taking her down there for years now. And this girl is a stud.
Yeah.
And I'm learning more and more about rugby because of my friend and her daughter. And she's like, oh, girls are getting like Ivy League scholarships to go and play like at Harvard and I'm like, what? This is nuts, but so cool.
It's amazing. And the rules aren't any different between men's and women's rugby too. I mean, it's the same thing. It's full contact. They are going for it.
Yeah.
And our women's team as a country, as United States is really good. In sevens rugby, we got bronze in this last Olympics.
Okay.
Pretty
What does
incredible.
sevens mean? Is that 7 people?
Yeah. So traditional rugby is like 15s rugby. That's what I played.
Okay.
It's 15 players aside, 40-minute halves in college.
Okay.
And then just like big, spread out field, pretty similar dimensions to a soccer field.
Okay.
Sevens is a newer version of the sport and it's 7 players aside versus 15.
Oh.
And it's 7-minute halves versus around that 40 mark. So really spread out and super fast. I mean, like everything's a sprint.
Okay.
So like the athletes, just pure athletes really do well in sevens because there's a lot of open space. And if you're fast and shifty, then you can really cut through a defense. In 15s, it's more methodical and you're really like your rugby IQ really plays a big role in it. And a big guy like me, you wouldn't really even see on the sevens field because everyone would just be running around us. So, it was not my thing. But the United States, the women's side is incredible out of that. Our men's are as well, actually, for sevens, not 15s really. But sevens, we're pretty good. So it's an amazing sport. It's growing. I think it's one of the fastest growing sports in North America. So that's pretty cool. And I eventually give it a shot over at Jesuit. And I fall in love with it. Oh my gosh. I'm like, in football, I was always used to like, you have a play call and then you just have a very specific job and you have to just conform to whatever that job is and take the next play. And in rugby, like you have your game plan, but there's a lot of creative freedom on you as a player. I liked that. I also found that in football, I'd play someone for, in one game, like an hour or two, and then they're like my mortal enemy for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
In rugby, totally different. Like, in a high school game, like we're after the game having Gatorades and pizzas, like we're chatting about the game and like it's bringing us closer together. Actually,
that's cool.
I love that. And like the international component of it too. Like for a lot of our American sports, it's like Denver plays against Tampa Bay and it's like the world championship, and, over in rugby, it's everywhere. I mean, it's really cool how it kind of brings the whole world together. And eventually I get my shoulder tapped to go play for UC Berkeley.
Nice.
Which has the most successful collegiate rugby program in the country. We just won our 34th national championship a couple of weekends ago. And that's with the tournament only even being around for about 50 years. So you have like decades straight of Cal Rugby winning national championships. I mean, it is by far the most successful sports program at any sport in the collegiate level.
Wow.
So I consider it an immense honor to be over at the school. When I'm a freshman, I'm kind of like putting in work, you know, like really I'm developing as a player. And then in my sophomore year, I earn a starting role at the lock position, which is kind of like, it's one of the bigger guys on the field, always taller, kind of like tight end body type.
Okay. I was just going to ask, kind of like, I know football very well. So I was going to say kind of tight end, especially when you said you're 6'5". I'm like, you had to have been some sort of receiver or some sort of like big guy that's out getting the ball.
Totally. Yeah. You got to be able to like really, you have to have like that tight end finesse where you can catch a ball and you can move pretty well. Cause it's 80 minutes of playing and you're not getting all these water breaks and rest breaks and stuff like that. It's continuous. You're going, you just have halftime is your only break.
Oh, wow.
So you need to be able to move around pretty well. And but you also need to be a bruiser. I mean, you're going to go into contact. It is a very physical game. And that's where I really excelled. And then we find ourselves competing for a national championship my sophomore year. So we're going for what would become our 31st national championship. And I mean, for me, I'm like, this is going to be the best day of my life. You know, when you're an athlete, these are the moments you dream of. And it's a day of legacy because when you become a national champion, you're not just like the national champion of the day. You're a national champion for the rest of your life. So I really wanted this, not just for me, but for this team and for my coaches and for our community and my family. And so I remember kind of all those moments. I remember this day, May 6th, 2017, better than any day in my life. And I remember getting dressed with ease for the last time. I remember getting in that locker room, you know, really intense environment. I remember our pregame warm up, all of it. Eventually, to where we kick the ball off, and it's very early on in the game, like a minute and a half in, that we're competing in what's called a maul. So a maul is when the bigger guys, we group up in a single unit and then we push to advance the ball. And the defense just has to come straight in and they try to stop us from moving forward. It's kind of like in football when a running back gets stood up and the line moves the pile. It's kind of like that. We're just a little more organized about it. It's like a planned play that we run. And we're like 5 meters out. These malls are just like boiler rooms. It's just where the big guys thrive. Like I said, I was a big guy. 6'5", 245 pounds. Like I'm on this field to move people. So I'm drooling here on the field. They think, let's go, Rob, drive this thing in. And then as I do that, the opposing players, they start making these illegal moves. The referee's not calling it though. So 3 players came in from the side to my left, which are infractions in rugby, but the ref's not calling it. And then their number 8 binds my head in a headlock. So he's kind of got my chin pinned down to my chest. Now in rugby, that's an automatic yellow or red card. If you bind someone around the neck, you don't even have to do anything after that. You're out of the game. But the ref doesn't call it. And then another player chops me down by my legs. So I start falling down. And this guy improves his arm lock around my neck. I can't get my head up. And I remember I just kind of closed my eyes and gripped my teeth for impact. But then I felt these god-awful crunch in my neck. My forehead slams against my sternum, gets pressed down there. And then just poof, pins and needles buzzing everywhere over my entire body. I didn't lose consciousness for 1 second. And then I kind of like taking a mental inventory. So I'm laying on my chest, you know, body flat, looking down into the left. So I can see my left arm and my left leg. And I'm thinking, okay, like get up, you know, instinctually try to get up because you fall down a lot in rugby and you just keep moving. And I don't get up after that instinct. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. I've broken a lot of bones before. I know what it feels like. This was in my neck. I can't feel anything in my entire body. So I start screaming. I'm just screaming as loud as I can. And the referee doesn't stop play. So
that was going to be my next question. Had play stopped yet? So play has not stopped and you're just flat on the ground.
Flat on the ground. Medical staff is sprinting out to me because if somebody landed on me in that moment, my injury definitely would have been more severe. I might not even be here today having this conversation. So the medical staff comes out and I start just kind of like thinking, okay, can I, you know, move my leg over? Ooh, that's not working. Can I wiggle my toes? Okay. Can I lift my arm up? Can I twitch a finger? I mean, nothing is working.
Oh, Jesus.
And then I get stretchered over into the ambulance, go over to the hospital, take our medical imaging. The doctor comes back. He says, Robert, your injury is bad, really bad. And the reality is you'll never walk again. You'll never move your hands. and we're going to do our best so that one day you can do something like just pick up a piece of pizza and bring it to your face. And if you can do that, you made it. If you can just feed yourself, you beat all the odds. And then he recommends surgery to me, a spinal fusion surgery. So he explains that the disc in between my C5 and C6 vertebrae ruptured into my spinal cord. Oof. And I'm fracturing at my C5 and my C6 vertebrae. So that damage that was done to my spinal cord might only continue to increase unless we perform that emergency spinal fusion surgery, which essentially permanently casts those vertebrae together. Okay. And he said it's my best chance at stability and recovery, but, and like there's always some kind of but, right? Yeah. He says it's potentially life-threatening surgery. Oh, so Jesus. At this time, I already had a temperature about 103 degrees. I spiked up to 105 at one point when I was in an MRI machine for a couple hours. Oh. My body.
Insane. Was it just because your body was just fighting?
Freaking out. Yeah, body's absolutely freaking out just under all this trauma. I mean, essentially, my brain had been cut off from about 85% of my body. That's not, you know, when I had this cut in the cord of my spinal cord. So it's freaking out. It's trying to decide what's going on here.
So are you in pain?
So yeah, a little bit of pain in my neck. I mean, it was a lot of bit of pain, but my adrenaline was just pumping so much that I just didn't feel it as much as that point. And then they get, you know, a morphine drip going and try to manage that well, because it was a lot of pain. But the real pain I felt was internal. I mean, it was emotional pain. Yeah. It was mental pain, because I knew early on, like right when I broke my neck, that this is bad, that these things are also very chronic and catastrophic. Yeah. So I just kind of immediately opened myself up to the possibility to assume the worst, that I'm never going to play rugby again. You know, that thing that's giving me meaning and purpose in my life. I'm probably never going to go back to school. I'll never see my friends. I won't graduate. I won't walk across stage. I won't have a family. I won't have a job or a career. I will probably sit in a room, you know, kind of positioned to where I can look out a window. When I get hungry, my mom will spoon feed me. Then one day she'll die, and I'll have a caregiver who just kind of keeps me alive till I breathe my final breath. And I'm 20 years old. It's insane
how you went down that deep, dark of a path so quickly in this happening.
Yeah. I mean, horrible. And it just shows how quick life can change.
Yeah. Well, and it shows a lot about how our minds just go to work. Yeah. And I mean, you're like envisioning your like final day as an old man in a wheelchair on day one of still not even really being able to grasp like what had happened or what like the potential positives could be.
Yeah, I know. Like in the terror of a moment like that.
Yeah.
You can't help but have those thoughts. And I think in that moment, those thoughts weren't altogether healthy, because I had some really big decisions to make, like that potentially life-threatening surgery. My doctor told me I had 1 hour to make a choice.
Wow. So and your mom and dad with you at this point?
Yeah, they were on the field. They saw the injury and everything. So they're there, but you know, it comes down to me in the end of the day, because I'm thinking, okay, on one hand, I'm kind of like, I'm fighting for quality of life where I have really a semblance of a chance at a recovery. And then on the other hand, I just have life at all. Yeah. And I knew that regardless of the situation, I did not want to die. That was like priority number one. I just need to survive. Yeah. So there's a couple things that helped me in that moment. One was like a definition of mental toughness, which I really learned a lot playing rugby at Cal, which we define as the ability to focus on the next most important thing. So in a rugby context, that would be like, let's say someone passes you the ball, it drops forward, goes to the other team, mistake just happened. You committed that mistake. Now, a mentally weak person would pound their fist in the dirt. They'd get all angry about this situation and not be able to like see what's happening in front of them. Right. They miss another play and it just kind of compounds itself from there. That's a very mentally weak thing to do. Mentally tough thing to do is to really like internalize what just happened, take it as a mistake. It's done. It's over. What's the next most important thing? Yeah. Now you take that in a life context, things happen. Challenging things are going to happen to us in life, and we can't control that. But I think when we need to make very important decisions in our life, and there's a lot of emotions going on, we need to realize that we have this ability to really kind of step outside of that, take that mountain of a task that we have in front of us and just focus on like our own 2 feet. What's that next step? Yeah. What's the next most important thing right now? And then act on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this further got confirmed to me before I went to that surgery. I could make some phone calls. So
Okay.
the first person I called was my religious advisor.
Uh-huh.
I'm asking for prayers, asking for advice. My faith is very important to me and I wanted prayers. So he gives me some prayers, but he leaves me with this advice that just like changed everything for me. Day one.
Okay.
And he said, Robert, what happened to you is terrible. And throughout this journey, there's just going to be a lot of things that you can't control.
Yeah.
But the one thing you'll always have control over is your mindset. So
Yeah.
your positivity, your ambition, your willingness to wake up every day and fight this is up to you. And this injury can't take that away from you.
Yeah.
So, in that moment, I didn't have a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't have the odds on my side.
Yeah.
I didn't have a doctor saying that everything would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have these signs of life showing up in my body, but I had my mindset.
Yeah.
And regardless of how I was feeling, I could keep moving forward. And I think just realizing we have that power within us at all moments of our lives really enables us to move forward through just the darkest situations we might face in our life.
I mean, I gotta say, like, you exhibited this when you were 11, like you said, when you were playing football and you decided, you know what, I'm tired of being tired. I'm gonna do something different. And then it changed the game for you. I mean, so you obviously have been kind of like a wise beyond your years kid since you started growing up. But I mean, even in this moment where you were actively able to recognize like what was happening as it was happening in the game, and then to be in the hospital and having this massive life altering, literally, or life ending decision on your plate that you were ultimately going to be the final decision maker on, while you're pumped full of morphine, and then sitting here recalling what you've been taught by being a member of this collegiate level team and picking up the phone and calling your pastor, your spiritual advisor, and getting that advice to ultimately make the final call on what you were going to do. I mean, that's really like astute level of awareness at a very young age in a horrible situation, terrifying situation.
It is like at the time, it didn't feel like that. At the time, it just felt like what I needed to do to survive. To make it through this and like try to gain a little bit of mental clarity. But I think so much of what helped me was that I was always pushing myself before this injury happened. So like I did a lot of hard things. I mean, to compete at a level like that in rugby requires a lot of physical pain, but then just like discipline, getting up out of bed when you don't want to do it and pushing that extra mile when you feel like I can just call it a day.
Yeah.
And I think that really helped me build up kind of mental toughness and that faith component too, like really making sure that was always a part of my life.
Yeah.
Really helped me too, that when this happened, it didn't seem like mere happenstance to me, that I always believe that there's a plan for my life. And I believe that that plan is good. At the moment, it was really hard to see that it was a part of a plan. And if it was a part of the plan, it seemed messed up.
Right? You're like, what a shitty plan. Like, thanks.
Yeah, I should have consulted me on that one first.
Jeez.
But like having trust in that, realizing that I have nothing else to count on here. So I'm just going to give all my trust to you.
Yeah.
And like that helped me a lot, but it was all sort of built into this foundation that I had been building before any of this ever happened. So I think that's just like big takeaway for all of us, right? That when you're in those seasons where you feel like things are going well, keep pushing, like really seek growth in your life. Don't settle and be complacent. Always seek to be growing, always learning, always getting stronger. Because if a challenge ever does hit us, we are going to be able to stand against it. And I'm happy that I did that. So what'd
you decide to do that day?
So I decided to go into the surgery.
Okay.
And I remember getting rolled in there and they put the gas mask over me for anesthesia. They say count down from 100. I think I got to like 98 or 90.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I know. It's always so funny. Like they're like, count down from this. And you think like, oh, I'm going to be here, like really just chopping it up with them. And then you're like, good night.
Like a light. And honestly, I was kind of hoping that I'd wake up from the surgery, like it'd be fine. They just like, hey, we found this little thing. We needed to move over to the side and you're good. Like, don't forget to leave a tip when you're on your way out. And, I wake up, not the case. Body's still buzzing. At this time, I can lift my arms just a little bit off the bed, but I can't like itch my nose or do anything that dynamic. So I'm
Okay.
thinking, okay, this wasn't just like a bad dream. This was real.
Mm.
And I really had to fight for my life at that point. This was the greatest test that I faced since then because I couldn't swallow anything. So I couldn't eat or drink. And we had to put a tube up my nose and into my stomach. I don't know if you ever did one of those COVID tests where they're like tickling your brain.
Yes, unfortunately.
What a
Yeah.
pain, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like that times 100. It had to go
Oh.
all the way down to my stomach. And it took 3 days to try it because I broke my nose so many times playing rugby. So it's all jagged in there. It's not a straight shot. But it was one of those things where it's like, if I don't eat, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Control your mindset.
Mhm.
Keep moving forward. What's the next most important thing? Getting this tube in my nose and my stomach so I can eat. That really helped me. And and then I got pneumonia, which is,
geez.
yeah, I mean, dangerous for anybody, right?
Yeah.
Really dangerous for me because my diaphragm was mostly paralyzed. So I didn't have the ability to cough.
Cough.
So we would have people slam down on my chest to move that mucus out of my lungs.
Oh
And
my God.
I was horrible. I mean, like I was afraid to sleep. I was afraid that if I allowed myself to sleep, that I would not wake up and I would have a, choking fit and I wouldn't know.
Oh,
And I just wouldn't wake up. So, I mean, it really felt like death was with me in the room, waiting for me to quit. And then just make it even worse. It's so funny. Like in hospitals, the number one thing you need is rest. You need sleep.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's like the only
It's like
thing.
the last thing you get, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was never getting any sleep. Every 3 hours, a respiratory therapist would come in to start doing those breathing treatments on my lungs.
Oh.
Minimum, they would last 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes 3. And then we would just start the next one. I mean, I'm filling up like 2 cups worth of phlegm in some of these sessions. I mean, my body was failing. And then every 2 hours, they would have to rotate my body so I didn't get a skin sore.
Yeah.
And then every 1 hour, someone would come in to check my vitals. So it was just like
Jesus.
revolving door of staff.
Seriously.
So, and like on one hand, I was absolutely exhausted, but on the other hand, I was afraid I would die if I slept.
Yeah.
So it's such a tough moment, but what really got me through it all was my support system. I mean, my mom slept on a chair by my bedside for 2 months, just in one of those little reclining chairs. And I mean, she scratched my nose when it itched and she wiped my tears when I cried, and I couldn't have done without her.
Yeah.
And then
that just like makes me cry.
oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, amazing. And I remember one night she said, she was like, I would give anything to let me be the one paralyzed and not you, to like take this away from you. And I just thought like, I could never wish that, but even to take that further, I couldn't wish this upon anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you could name like the worst people that have ever walked this earth, and I couldn't wish it upon them. I was like, I'm suffering right now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't without his light. And it was just like those interactions I would have with my friends, and like whether that's FaceTime calls or like looking at messages from so many people, like pouring out their love to me. Like it helped me kind of escape from that hospital room for a little while where I was just me with my friends again, or just like experiencing this human connection with these people really rooting me on. It helped me get through what was a really dark month.
So you were there for a month.
Yeah, I was there for a month. I couldn't eat for about 2.5 weeks. So I lost 60 pounds in a month.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa.
2 pounds a day. Right.
Wow.
And, I worked
I
hard.
would imagine you probably didn't have a lot of fat to lose. So you were losing a bunch of muscle, right?
It was all muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was bad. I mean, cause it was not easy to get to that size. I mean, I was working out like a horse
and probably eating everything under the sun to maintain your muscle and all the calories you're burning at practice. Jeez.
Yeah. My parents practically had to like take out a personal loan to pay the grocery bill.
I bet.
Crazy. Yeah. So then, you stop that activity and that calorie intake, and it's amazing how far it goes. So that was hard. And I had a lot of identity issues with that. And just like self-image consciousness about like this kind of previous identity that I had, an image to where I was in this situation where I can see the ridges in my sternum, my body's atrophied, a lot of stuff. And, but I made it through it. I got through that point.
Wow.
And then I go to a new hospital in Denver, Colorado. It's called Craig Hospital.
Oh, okay.
They specialize in these kinds of injuries. These people are incredible. So I show up and like, I'm not expecting much. I mean, I'm thinking this is probably going to be pretty depressing. Everybody's in the same situation as me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are even worse. This is not going to be like some pick me up kind of a place, right?
Yeah, it's not summer camp.
Oh yeah. But I show up with like the patients, everybody has smiles on their faces. They're like, Robert, you're going to love it here. You kind of want to like just shake them and say like, what's going on? Are they drugging you? Like, yeah. Blink twice if you need me to help you get the heck out of here. But that was this place. The staff, they looked at us and they just saw potential. It wasn't broken bodies.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
I remember my first
Speaking of drugs, not to cut you off, speaking of drugs, were you on a lot of pain medication at this point?
I made sure to get off it pretty quick, which I'm happy I did because all those narcotics and stuff, that can be a really tough road if you're on them for too long.
Definitely.
So I was always very lucky that I didn't have a lot of pain management that I had to work through. Of course, I mean, my neck hurt. It was fully broken and, and then fused and whatnot. So I really, I tried to muscle through that period a little bit just to make sure that I didn't have any problems, with the medications that they'll sometimes just they just put you on it and they just keep you on it. And it can be really problematic for some folks.
I think that's like such a awareness, right? Like they'll offer you all these things, but you don't necessarily have to take them, Like I remember I had a surgery a couple of years ago and they gave me all these prescriptions and I was like, I literally won't take this. Like, I promise you, I won't take it. And they're like, just get it just in case. You don't know how your body's going to respond, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I promise you, I will not be taking that. That is like, I don't want that kind of drug in my body. Like I will power through it. I have a very high pain tolerance, and lo and behold, guess what I didn't? And then I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like throw it away, like crush it up, flush it down the toilet.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like when you're in a hospital, you can sometimes find yourself where you're just like, what is that? And they're like, oh, it's a spar cord opioid. And you're just what?
Totally.
So it's always good to like when you're in those situations, really advocate and like try to take that inventory of what's going into your body.
Yeah.
I was very intentional about that, and I think it helped me. I didn't have any problems, down the road with that. And I just, then I go to Craig. Doctor has such a better outlook, and he's like, Robert, we don't know what's going to happen to you. You might walk out of these doors one day, and you very well might not. But we're going to guarantee you, we will give you everything that modern science and medicine has to optimize your recovery. You have the full strength and support of this team.
Awesome.
So, I mean, they just kind of like, they give me that really realistic dosage of hope and like just kind of cracked that door open a little bit. And I went for it. But I want to talk about that advice really quick. Like all the leaders who are listening in right now, because I think there's a lot of really sage advice in this of dealing with tough expectations, like a tough road ahead. And this is even like friendship standpoint, when you're trying to help someone get through a tough period in their life. That first doctor rarely had good intentions in his heart. I mean, he didn't want me to build up my hopes just to have them crushed one day. He didn't want to give me false hope.
Sure.
And I think what he risked in doing that, and what a lot of people receive, is false hopelessness.
Oh.
Yeah. That they hear some doctor who's dedicated their entire life to diagnosing a situation like this tell them that they're done, that they might as well not even try, and they don't try, and they don't get better. Thank goodness I didn't internalize that, what his news to me, and receive that false hopelessness. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be having this conversation. I don't know if I would have had the hope necessary to survive all that I went through in that first month.
Wow.
So I think like for all of us, big takeaway is like, take that Craig Hospital approach. Don't try to predict the future. I mean, they said like you could, stay in this physical state for the rest of your life. That's a possibility, but you could get better too. You just you understand where things go. We don't know what's going to happen, but what we do know is you have all of our support. And I think that's just perfect. Don't try to predict the future. Just show your steadfast support and deal with it however the cards may fall. So,
well, I think that there's something to be said. I mean, you hear about these things all the time, like, oh, they said I would never X again, right? Like fill in the blank. They said this would never happen again. And then I really do think that, I mean, and you said this from the beginning, mindset, it goes back to like, okay, well, what are you going to believe? I had a conversation with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and she was making a comment about dating in a certain age range. And she made this very blanket, well, if I date a guy this age, he'll never be where guys this age are. And I was like, well, if that's what you think, then that's exactly what you're going to find.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, but if you think differently, which I can promise you, different is absolutely out there.
Yeah.
I was like, but so if you think differently, you have a much higher chance of finding it. I was like, but if you are literally putting out into the world that guys at this age do not have this and you won't find that, then you're absolutely not going to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like the quote. It's like, if you think you can, you can. And if you don't, you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that too, especially like with the human body, you know, no two bodies are the same. Mm-hmm. So I love the approach that they had with you where they're like, hey, look, you could easily walk out of here. Or not easily. You could very well walk out of here one day. Yeah. You also might not, but like, let's see what we can do.
Yes.
And that's like such a, like, that had to be like a sigh of relief for you in some ways where you're like, okay, at least they're being honest, right? Like really honest. And they're not giving me hope in either direction. And I've never heard somebody say it how you said it, like giving someone false hope, but also giving someone false hopelessness. Right. I think that's a really, really, really good thing that people need to think about and talk about before they accept words from any sort of professional, regardless of what aspect of a journey it may be on.
Totally. I think if you really want something, go for it. Mm-hmm. And like, even if the odds are really stacked against you, go for it. Yeah. I mean, my odds of walking again when I got hurt were probably 1% or less. Yeah. Wow. Horribly low. You know, we'll eventually get to it, but I'm in that 1%. Yeah. And I mean, I think so much of it is that desire, is having a really strong vision for our lives. Mm-hmm. I spent a lot of time thinking about that. I don't think we spend enough time really thinking about our vision and what's that end point that we want to reach. Yeah. But when I was in that hospital and I had a lot of time, especially in the evenings, to just think and reflect, I was thinking about like, what are these milestones I want to achieve? Thinking about graduation, you know, thinking about like finding a life partner and like thinking about these things that I really wanted and like visualize them in great detail, to where when it came to those decisions where it was like I needed that boost of motivation, I had it, because I just had this insane hunger to achieve this vision. And I mean, it's hard to imagine just how much you want to walk again when you lose that ability.
I couldn't imagine.
But like, we all got to shoot for it. We got to shoot for that kind of hunger and appetite to really just seek success in our lives. And there's another quote I really love that says, it's not always about what the vision is, it's about what the vision does. So it's not all about like achieving that end goal. A lot of it is just about having that motivation to get up and get after it kind of mindset. I think a lot of ways that's the most important part about the vision.
It's like not always the destination, it's the journey.
Exactly. Exactly. Same thing. And like when you're just kind of adding these tools to your tool belt to be able to, you know, overcome adversity, achieve great success in our lives. I think that vision is just really important and empowered me. And the Craig Hospital folks, they fed that. You know, they fed that. They're like, don't count it out. It could happen. And it did. So
okay. So how long were you there for?
Yeah. So I was there for about a year. It was like 11 and a half months that I was at that hospital. And I went in that hospital, I couldn't move anything. And then I'm twitching a finger and then I'm twitching a toe. And they're putting me in these like walking machines. They're like moving my legs for me. And I'm trying to send that signal, and they're using like Easton pads. They're forcing my muscles to contract. Okay. And I'm trying to like bridge that gap, that little cut in the cord here, to try and reroute around it. You know, there's like muscles start firing here and there, to where eventually I got up out of my wheelchair into my walker with some help. And I walked out of the hospital doors. I did the impossible. Yes. I mean, just amazing. And then
what was that day like? Well, the first time you took a step, I mean, were you just like screaming with happiness?
So this is funny. So I thought that that's what it was going to be like. You know, I thought like, you know, the feeling when like you crush a presentation or like, you know, you're in school and like you get the A+, like that kind of feeling where it's just like dopamine rush, just dumped over the brain. That's what I thought it was going to be like times 100, right? And because, you know, I was working so hard for this moment. And so it wasn't when I rocked out of the doors that was my first time walking. I was in a basketball court, actually. And I had gained a lot of strength, and I didn't need to be like held up by a winch anymore. So I get up, and I had my best buddy was in Denver visiting me. He was right in front of me, and my physical therapist behind me. And he's like, okay, Rob, like take a step. And I remember it was my left foot. And I'm kind of like, I'm gritting my teeth, but I'm not trying to go like too hard. I don't want my body to like freak out. I'm like, I take that step. just kind of like awaiting that dopamine rush.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, take another. I go down and back the basketball court. I get in my chair, like we're high fiving, fist bumps, like that's awesome. Okay, now go to your next workout. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I thought this was like,
shouldn't we be celebrating? Like, what's going on?
I was like, this should be like everything. This should be like the pinnacle of my life.
Yeah.
And, I think we like that night we went to Chili's to celebrate or something.
Nice.
Nice. I can't say no to their bottomless chips and salsa. They're too good.
Love it.
But here I baked it up as this moment that would really change everything, just lasting happiness.
Yeah.
And it kind of becomes normalized.
Okay.
So I got a lesson out of this that I don't think we should delay happiness in our lives. I think it's good to have goals. It's great to have ambitions, that vision that's so important, but not letting it come at the expense of letting us have gratitude and appreciation for each day.
And celebrating the little wins, right? Yes. I mean, think about how many little wins you had along the way to getting to that moment in that day.
Totally. I think we have to take that inventory of the things that we have, and we can't say like, I'll be happy when I walk again. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when, I meet this girl or I meet this guy. Like we can't let our joy and gratitude for our life rest on these external circumstances. I think we really have to intentionally allow ourselves to be content and have satisfaction in what we have right now.
That's like, I love that you're saying that. My friend Nancy, she is like the queen of celebrating, and her mission in life is to get people to celebrate celebrate themselves on a regular basis. And so she's like, what'd you accomplish this week? What are we celebrating today? And I just love that. And it's like, sometimes you do have to just go, wait a minute. Like even if you see like just a little % of an increase, it's like, hey, like that still is better. I'm going to one step further. I'm going to celebrate that.
Yes. Yeah. It's so important. Like when I think one of the biggest lessons I learned of this injury is that life can change fast.
It sure can.
Really fast. And that doesn't mean we should just like bubble wrap our bodies when we go drive our car, stuff like that. Yeah. I think what it really should cause is a lot of gratitude for what we have. And just realizing how awesome a normal day is. Yeah. Like nothing happens. That's a real gift. It's an incredible gift, and something that we should really try to treat like a gift, to have that gratitude and appreciation and use it. So like just another big takeaway from this that I really try to share. Yeah. I mean, the story goes further. I walk out of those hospital doors.
Okay.
I go back to Cal.
Okay.
I get my degree 2 years later. I graduate. I walk across the stage and I can walk. I was just 2 Mondays ago, so 8 days ago, that I walked 500 yards around my house. I set a PR of 500 yards. And for anybody who can see the video, I'm talking like an Italian over here. I got my hands moving everywhere.
Yeah.
So my upper body has had almost a full return. I'd probably say like 85% regained in my upper body. It's just been amazing. And most importantly, I got married in November of 2023 to my wife, who is so much cooler than me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, just amazing. It's been such a journey, but not one that I'm ungrateful for. It's taught me so much. It's given me a lot of meaning in my life.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that is incredible. I mean, it is truly incredible what you have been through. Now, I think I would be remiss if I didn't ask, because I'm sure anyone listening, because, one of the things that I love about the show is that I don't know a ton about my guests prior, right? So I like to feel like whoever's listening they're listening it for the first time along with me. So I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking, okay, well, like what happened to the kid at the game that illegally was, put you in the chokehold and was doing, what happened? Or did anything happen?
It was hard. That story was the hardest one for me to write in my book. Cause it's really touchy, because what happened to me was entirely illegal. You cannot drive someone down by their neck and render them a quadriplegic in rugby. When it happened, I was filled with so much rage when I saw the pictures and videos that I was wrenched down by my neck, and that caused all of this. I just can't explain the hatred I had in my heart, because I didn't get hurt by some fluke or like me doing something stupid. I was really trying to achieve greatness in my life, and someone broke the laws of our game, and I'm paralyzed, and I've spent 8 years in a wheelchair. I might spend the rest of my life in this wheelchair. And he's never said sorry. He's never reached out to me. And that made it really hard in the beginning, but I forgive him whether he's sorry or not. And it was a journey. It was so deliberate, this journey of forgiveness. So like I said, my faith is very important to me. And that's what guided me initially on this. I was taught to always forgive others, regardless of what they did and regardless of how I feel. And it felt a little bit like a test to me in this situation. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to fake it till I make it. And I'm just going to say, I forgive this person, whether or not I feel it internally. I'm not going to give power to those words that bring me down. And so people would ask me, Robert, what do you think about this guy? What's your take? And I'd say, I forgive him and I wish him well. And I think what it allowed me to do was just let time run its course to where I kind of think of it as like a fire analogy, where you're sitting by this fire, someone comes over, lights this thing up and leaves. And it's just you having to tend to this fire now of rage and of anger. And the more we give negative words to that hatred, the more we feed that fire. It burns and it'll burn us in our lives. But the more we just allow it to be there and don't give power to it and just let it slowly dissipate itself out and let time do its job, we can reach that liberation. Because forgiveness, a couple things on it is, one, I don't think it's just a feeling of peace that comes from when you move on from a negative situation in your life. I think it's also a decision. I think it's a journey that we have to make day after day after day. So it's good for us to realize that we have that power to be on a path of forgiveness without really feeling it internally. We can still say that we forgive this person without feeling that inner peace, or because we're on that journey, we're on that path. And then finally, another thing I learned about forgiveness is that it's not all about just removing guilt from someone else. It's not really about them at all. It's really more about us. And it's about us being able to move forward in our life. I don't think there's a lot of generalities in life that is applied to every circumstance, but I think forgiveness is always the answer. I really just can't think of a situation where it benefits us. It's just always the right choice, and it's not easy. It's easily one of the most difficult things that I did in this entire journey, but I'm so happy that I did. And I just can't imagine what my life would look like right now if I held on to that hate all these years. It's the best decision that I made, and something I really try to share with others, because I know it's hard, but it's always worth it.
I love hearing that. A couple of weeks before your episode will air, so a few weeks before people are hearing this, if the people listening are avid listeners, they will have heard an episode with a woman named Catherine Giovanni, who wrote a book about how to forgive. So when we drop off, I'll send you that link, because she's a fascinating woman, and she taught me a ton, and her book is en route to me as we speak. So
nice.
Oh, cool. I will have gone through it all by the time this is live out in the world too. So
that's awesome. So, I'm so really excited to hear it. I wonder if she would see that there's kind of like any of the fake it till you make it type component in that as well. I know it certainly has impacted my life.
Oh, wonderful. So gosh. So when you went back, when you were for a year at the hospital in Colorado, were you doing schoolwork then as well? Or were you just completely focused on your recovery?
Yeah, totally focused at that point. And like, if I had to choose a time in my life to break my neck, I didn't choose a bad time, to be honest, not like, I had a family that I had to take care of, or a job that I was holding down. I could take that year off from school entirely and just dedicate it 100% to my rehab. And I needed it, because it was 8 to 9 hours a day of rehab. I mean, it was intense and very, draining, fatiguing, to just the mental strain, a lot of it, to just like keep going forward.
So what's your, I guess, fitness routine like now? I imagine you have to be fairly diligent to keep muscle on your body and to keep things moving and to continue to improve.
Right. Yeah. I'm very diligent about it. So I have not given up on this journey, and I will get out of this wheelchair one day, or I'll die trying. There's no in between. So I work out just about every single day. I'd say like an easy 5 days a week. And I start out each of my workouts with walking endurance. I go as far as I can. So I get up out of my bed, into my walker, just like a standard walker. And I start doing laps around my house. And typically I'd get around like 225 yards, but on those really good days, like I had a little while ago, 500 yards is my best.
That's great.
After that, I'll get into my bed and I start just repping out sit to stands, just up and down, up and down as many times as I can. Then I do a static stand and just try to, stay in that balanced position, get my balance under me. And as long as I can, usually it takes me about an hour 15 to do each of these workouts. And it's amazing how the progress continues to pay off, because
that's awesome.
When I first got hurt, my doctors told me the optimal window of recovery is in the first 6 to 9 months after your injury. And then really your total window of recovery is in your first 2 to 3 years after injury. So after that 2-3 year mark, you can work as hard as you want, but you're not really going to get any progress out of it. And here I am. When I made that accomplishment, it was one day before the 8-year anniversary of my injury. So I think it just goes to show like the power of that consistency over time, that it really does pay off. And when I have little milestones like that, especially this late in the game, I am just like fueled for years. I'm like, there's nothing that will stop me.
That's amazing. And so I'm assuming at your wedding, you were able to stand up and dance with your wife and do all those good things for photos and memories.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. I mean,
awesome.
My wife is she's the most amazing person in the world. Nobody competes. I am so lucky to be with her. And that's something I didn't think was going to happen, to be honest. I mean, I had a lot of identity issues that I needed to work with, because, like I explained, my body was kind of my life. It was like, it's what I derived my purpose from in being an athlete. And I took a lot of pride in it. I like being like the biggest guy in the room and stuff like that, and being strong, being able to help people too. And then I find myself in this situation where my body's like unrecognizable. Yeah. And I'll show people like old photos of me and they'll be like, wait, which one's you? It's like a whole different experience for me.
Well, geez, what'd you say? You were 245 at the time of the accident and losing 60 pounds. I mean, going down to less than 180 as a 6'5" man, you had to be skin and bones.
I was. Yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable. So there was just kind of like that exterior image component of it. But then also the challenges that I have to face every day. I mean, I deal with a lot of significant mobility issues still, and it changes what I can and what I can't do. Now, I don't have a choice, and I take that on or I do nothing with my life. But a life partner does have a choice.
Yeah.
There's options out there. And I just thought, who in the world would ever take this on? Because I don't know if I would. And Carson, my wife, did, and she does.
Where'd you guys meet?
We met at Cal. Yeah, we met through some mutual friends over there. They're like, you are the same person. Like, you have to get together. So we met over there in Berkeley. And she just showed me that my worth, my value is not in my appearance. It's not in my accomplishments and these little abilities. It's who I am on the inside that's worthy of her love. And I mean, that's true for all of us, right?
Absolutely.
That we are all worthy of love, regardless of what we're going through, that we should never lose that inherent value that we all maintain at all points in our life. Meeting her and having her as my life partner has just changed everything for me. And I mean, what beautiful moments to be able to stand with my bride and have our first dance together, and just all these special things. As I do speaking, she travels with me across the country to go to these events. I'm just so lucky to have her in my life.
Oh, well, you seem really great too. So I'm sure she feels just the same way, and that you guys make a great couple.
Yeah. She is amazing.
Wonderful. Well, why don't you tell everyone about your book, because you did recently release a book. So I want to hear more about it, because I certainly want to read it.
Right. Yeah. I'm so excited about it. So title's Paralyzed to Powerful, meant to be a very clear double meaning. I have this journey of battling a physical paralysis, but we all have things that paralyze us mentally or emotionally, spiritually. And this injury took a lot away from me, but it gave me a lot too. It gave me these tools through this journey that I can share with others. And that's what I wanted to do in this book, is first to share this story of battling through quadriplegia these last 8 years. But then each chapter is a tool that has helped me to overcome this challenge. Things like we've talked about today, like in forgiveness, like in not delaying happiness, controlling your mindset, little, good nuggets like that we can put in our tool belt. and all while kind of guiding that story along chronologically. So it's part about me. And I think when a lot of people buy this book, they expect to just learn more about me. And what I've been excited to see in all the feedback is that they're learning more about themselves. That's something that I really try to work on in that. So I'm extremely excited about it. It's available everywhere books are sold. And I guess at this point when the episode drops, I'll have an audiobook out as well, which I've narrated myself. So I'm so excited about it. And it was not an easy process going through this book, both, just in terms of time, but emotionally too. It was a very cathartic process for me. And I really tried not to hold back in any regard. So I've just been so excited to see how people are enjoying it. And I hope it keeps spreading out there.
Well, congratulations. And I'm just so happy for you. I'm so glad that we got connected to just hearing you speak. Your positivity is infectious, and it truly shows what a testament to mindset and to making the choice every day, because every day we have a choice, right? And you're choosing to live, and I think that's beautiful. So thank you so much for being here, Rob. I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Nikki. This was so much fun.
And everybody, thank you so much for being here and for listening, watching, all of the great things. Robert's info will be in our show notes, so you're able to contact him if you want to learn more about him. And as always, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, all the great things. I love hearing from you, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.